part of our research was to determine what threshold causes what problem, right? And so the San Gabriel Mountains have a debris flow threshold of 1/2 inch per hour for a first-year burn scar. There is no similar threshold for the San Ynez Range behind us, so the Weather Service and their geologists elected to use that, and we quickly bought into that forecasting tool. So once we established that as the intensity that would cause the problem, we started training our folks. One of our biggest fears was because of the way the front country is arranged, we occasionally get pop-up thunderstorms that start out at Santa Cruz and the other Channel Islands and collect steam and moisture over the channel, and then through the orographic pressure squeeze out a thunderstorm right above the fire district. And to be honest, that was our biggest fear initially, was, are we setting up our on-duty BCs for failure in not preparing them for what to order, what resource types, where to put them, what's safe and what's not safe. So that was really the impetus in our planning for our people. Of course, for the community, the impetus in our planning was to keep them safe, because that's our mission. The day before the storm, we pre-positioned a Cal OES RTF, which is a regional task force, so people that have expertise in rescue. And we also pre-positioned a Cal OES Swiftwater Rescue team from Long Beach Fire Department. We made contact with helicopters. So in addition to the local county fire department helicopters, we talked to the National Guard, we talked to Point Mugu, the Navy, those folks, just to see what would be available should we have an event. And then we ordered National Guard high water vehicles. So the high water vehicles I had experience with in the city of Morro Bay in my previous life when I worked for City of Paso Robles. We had significant flooding in '95 that cut off a city, and we had Camp San Luis nearby. And so we utilized those to ferry tools, equipment, and resources through the flooded areas to Morro Bay. So we thought that they might be helpful. So we pre-positioned all of those resources the day before, so the 8th, the same time that we issued the evacuation warnings and orders. And those crews did pre-planning in the districts that were at risk. So pretty much the entire South Coast below the Ray Fire, the Whittier Fire, the Alamo Fire, the Sherpa Fire, and of course the Thomas Fire. So they started at noon that day. We gave them an operations briefing and sent them out, and they did that. We had done a lot of work internally here at Montecito Fire in developing maps. So we had pre-incident plans for wildland fires, and they stopped at Highway 192 because generally wildland fires don't go below Highway 192. And so one of the things that we identified back in December 26 when we were looking at it was, we don't have good maps or good pre-plans should we have this event that actually goes from the Camino Cielo down to the ocean. So we had spent an incredible amount of time, energy, and effort with GIS and some contract GIS folks actually developing those maps, identifying staging areas, temporary refuge areas, high points that we could keg resources in while the debris flow occurred. Turns out it ended up being a really good idea. And so, as it turns out. And so we utilized all those during the debris flow. So they were all, did their pre-planning and were pre-positioned along the front country by dark. And so at about 4 the next morning on January 9th, there was a report of a natural gas explosion. And the natural gas explosion occurred in the eastern part of our fire district. It was reported that 4 houses were on fire. The incident management team had been activated. We were at the incident command post at Earl Warren Showgrounds, and the resources that were pre-deployed attempted to respond. There were several here at this fire station. They couldn't make it to the event, and the reason why they couldn't make it is because part of the debris flow actually cut off their access to that portion of the district. So the people that were staged on the other side of that debris flow actually responded and made several rescues in that natural gas rich environment.